We can rename this in actually too. But I'll rename this part 1. And then we're going to make a new scene. I'm going to call it part 2. And this is basically the scene we're going to be working in for this project. One thing though, before we start, is you guys are downloaded, I'm assuming, you guys are downloaded the assets, right, from the GitHub. So we're going to put that into our project first. So I downloaded it too, so I can go along with you guys. And you can see that here we have the models that I downloaded, right? And simply, this is 7-week game dev, right? And you should be able to see if I just go to wherever you put it. For me personally, if I just go quick access, I can open the link here. And this is my game dev folder, right? And if I go to assets, you see that these are the folders that I have in my project, right? I have material, scene, scripts. If I go back to my projects, material, scene, scripts, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste my models into this folder. Then I'm going to extract. And I'm going to extract files. And I'm going to extract it to model. All right, I'm just going to I'm just going to actually do it to assets because I'm pretty sure that these should already be folders inside. Yeah, see, so because I just did it to the folder itself, I got both animations and materials here. I'll close this and I'll go back to Unity. And you'll see that because remember how this is like a file explorer in our last lecture or last lesson, you can see that I have my animations that I'm going to need for this one, as well as I have my model. So what we're going to do first is you see that this model is completely blank. There's no materials, right? We're going to actually make sure we get the materials by saying use embedded materials, extract materials. Oh, sorry. Use external materials. Sorry, not use embedded, use external. And what this will do is to go inside and it'll find its own materials. And it'll go through the actual entire process. And we click apply. That's okay. And I believe if I put this in the scene, you can clearly see like my guy is now textured, right? He has good shoes. You can see. And like, again, he's like proper, right? And now, again, remember when I talked about directional light? We can actually change the directional light so that it shines, like it actually affects the objects we have, right? So we got something like this now. We're going to go back and we're going to again I'm going to create the plane again. I'm going to just do the same thing we did last time with the ground. Right? I'm going to extend it a bit farther though. And now here we have ground, right? I just go back to the same materials and make the ground green, right? The problem is now, again, similar to what we did last time. No. Give me 1 second. I just want to make sure this goes up. Anyways. So now, going back, when I click play, We see that my guy is floating in the air, right? I'll move Bob closer. So we see that like he's still floating, right? And we don't want that. So we're gonna have to do the same thing we did last time. Let me just make the camera a bit closer though. Do that. Okay. Yeah, so what we're gonna have to do now is we're going to take Bob. I called him Bob, by the way. I don't know if you guys want to rename him or whatever. But basically what's going to happen is we're going to have to take Bob and we're going to have to add the rigid component again to him, right? So that he starts falling down like properly. Remember like how we did Q, you need to add gravity to Bob. So hello. Wait, can you guys put up a thumb sign if you guys can still hear me? Okay. No, something is happening and I thought I lagged out or something. Anyways, continuing on. For the texture for Bob again, what we had to do was you go into the model, and you should be able to see materials, and you should be able to click use external materials and click apply. Oh no. Okay. And then what we're gonna have to do, my screen. Okay, give me 1 sec, guys. My screen is dying. I want to stop sharing for a sec. I want to try fixing it. Okay, I think I fixed it. I just had to close my Unity because everything wasn't working. Okay, I think I'm back. Okay, back to where I was again. I'm going to share my screen. I'll open this. And we're going to go back, yeah. So we have Bob here, right? The first thing you're going to notice is that, see how his box looks a bit different than the other objects here? What this means is that because we dragged it in, it's going to be packaged. Because we're going to be editing a lot of what Bob is, we're going to have to unpackage it first. So what we're going to do is you can go to prefab because we made it a prefab, and we're going to click unpack completely. So now it becomes like everything else, right? And it'll make it easier to edit. At the end, we can make it a prefab, which in other projects you might need to do, but you don't need to do that here. Okay, and then what you're going to notice is Bob has 2 different things. He has CH06, which is just a character material. And I believe one of you before asked what happens to Bob's materials. I'm not sure if you guys saw it, but before he had materials like just basic images. And now that's our, because we used the apply texture, it was able to apply all these images based on these joints. And this is a Mixamo rig. Okay, so we used Mixamo. I'll show you that website later if you guys want other models from there for both the models and the animations for this project. They have 3 models and animations. But what you want to notice here is that every humanoid, if you look at it, has this type of hierarchy. And what this does is it has the hips as the root, and then from there has the left leg, or has the entirety of the hips. And then the hips as the root, then it has left leg, right leg, and spine, right? These 3 things coming out of it. And it's like a tree if you think about it. Starting in the hips, they have different parts that are connected to it. And basically at different locations, you can see them move, right? So what we're going to specifically be doing here is we're going to be adding a box collider to Bob. So we're first going to try to get gravity on Bob, right? Some people use box colliders, some people use other colliders. I'm going to use a box collider. One thing though is I want it to be at his feet, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the Y star at 0.5. And I'm also going to make this a bit smaller. So I'm going to make it like 0.5, 0.5. I'm going to make maybe the Y actually 0.5 too. And then if I'm going to make this 0.5, I'm just going to make this. I'm just changing how it looks. Another way you can do this is you can click edit box collider, right? And by doing that, you'll actually be able to like change it like this, right? Or like drag it however you want from the different sides, right? But you can just use the numbers, much like how you have tools for transform, and then you can just use the numbers. And then now, if I just add the rigid body to Bob again, we'll see that when I click play, Bob fell, right? Let me just make sure he's still on the ground. Yeah, so he fell down, right? One thing I forgot to tell you about the rigid body is that if you open constraints, they have freeze positions X, Y, Z, right? What this does is it freezes the object's transform from moving in the position or in a certain rotation. So basically, if I check this, it won't let me move this. And I'll show you that right now. If I check the freeze position X, where's my chat box gone? Oh, there we go. And then, oh, so if you have the model folder in Bob, that means you didn't extract like how I did. If you click on the model folder, you should have animations and a model in it. If you don't, then yeah, then you did something wrong. So for the color, like, again, as I said, when you click on Bob, you should be able to go into materials and click use external materials and click apply. And then your Bob will have color. Anyways, back to where I was at. So when I click freeze position X, right? Now if I look at Bob in this, I'm gonna look at him from the seat. I can't move if I okay, basically what this does is in rigid body collisions, like I can move his X, right? But in a collision with him, he won't be able to move in his X position. That's what this freeze position does. No, so again, you should like you extract it, you click Bob, right? And in materials, you don't need to find the materials. You just click on materials, click instead of before it was like this, right? You click on this and you click apply. So Bob should no longer be white. Anyways, going back to what I said, now that we have that, we're going to try to do Bob is purple. Okay. Okay, I'll try showing how you guys do it one more time, okay? And then if you guys, okay. So you went to the asset link, right? And you click download, right? I did the same thing. And you should get this model for it, right? I'm going to take this, I'm going to copy it. I'm going to go back to my documents. Is it my GitHub? I'm going to go quick access again. I'm going to go here, open file location. You're going to go here, right? And you have assets, and then you have your model, right? So I'm going to click Control V here. You extract to. I'm going just to extract the small model here. Where is my model folder? I wanted to do okay, so I have a models folder now, right? Okay. And then here in our models folder, you have something like this, right? You guys see where I am now? You guys got that? Where is my? Oh, here it is. Okay. So if you're here, you go model, right? You have Bob here, right? You go to materials and you go use external legacy, right? And you click apply. If you get something like this, well, that's fine. And then you get this. This Bob has materials on him, right? I see where I went wrong. Okay, cool. Okay, so we're good now, right? Okay, I'm going to delete this, and I'm going to also delete this. Everything I have right now, I think should be good. So I'm in model now, right? And going back to what I said again, we have our widget body, right? On Bob. And what we're going to do is we want to freeze not our position because Bob can move, but we want to freeze our rotation in X and Z. Because we don't want Bob to be able to rotate like this, right? We don't want him to fall down. And we don't want him to rotate like this. He's not going to be doing jumping jacks, okay? You guys get that? So if we don't want him to rotate in those two directions, we're going to stop his rotation in X and Z. The only thing he can rotate it in is in the Y axis, right? You guys got that? Okay. I don't know why my chat keeps disappearing, but whatever. Now what's going to happen is we have Bob and we have our widget body, right? And we have our boss collided. And that all looks good. What we're going to have to do now is going to put the movement script back onto Bob. Well, remember the movement script we made in part 1? So we're going to go to scripts. The problem is our movement script now is going to be a bit different. I guess what we'll do actually before I start that is we'll start with actually making an animator. So this is kind of the cool part. if we go back to animations, we have a bunch of animations here, right? One thing we want to do though is if you go to animation, if you go here, you want to click on loop time and click apply for each and every one of them. What loop time does basically is it makes sure that your animations will always loop. Okay. And then what we're going to do from there, what we're going to do from there is we're going to take these animations and we're going to try making a controller. So what we're going to do first, we're going to create an animated controller. So again, you right click, create animated controller, and we're going to call this Bob controller. Okay, and we double click on this and we see that we get into a new pane. And this pane is going to be like our animation tree. We're going to create some parameters here. And these are the parameters that we're going to use to control Bob. And we're going to create two booleans, right? I mean, two. Yeah, I don't think it matters. We'll create two floats though, so I can show you how it works. We're going to create two floats, and it's going to be change x. So this is just going to be so you know how we had Bob going in x and z direction before? This is going to be the same thing, except right now we're just going to change x and y because we might have to change the axes later, but that doesn't matter. We can do that later. And we're also going to do a puncher. So what this is going to do is this is going to tell us if Bob is punching or not. And now I'm going to start by creating a new animation tree. And we're going to start with the blend tree. Now, the cool thing about a blend tree is what I'm about to show you. We can make this into a 2D simple transform, 2D freeform Cartesian, right? And what this will allow us to do is we can use our change x and our change y as our parameters. And now we can actually add motions to our tree. And I'm going to add motion here, and I'm going to click add motion here. And I'm going to add motion here. I'm going to add motion here. I'm going to add motion here. And basically what's going to happen is our 0, 0, right? We're going to take our idle and we're going to make sure that's that one, right? And then what this means is that our change x and our change y, right? Those are 0, 0, right? And what this tells us is that the speed for 0, 0 should be 1. This is the play speed. Next, what happens is think of this as a 2D Cartesian system, right? Or like it's just like a graph, right? What we're going to do is we're going to have 0, 1. We're going to have 1, 0. We're going to have 1, negative 1, 0. We're going to have 0, negative 1. So you see I made like a compass type thing. Now think if we're looking at Bob from a bird's eye view, right? What's going to happen is we're going to have Bob in the center. This means that when his change x and change y is 0, we want him to be idle, right? So that's why we had his idle animation go into 0, 0. You see that? Then what's going to happen is when he's 0, 1, right? What is 0, 1? 0, 1 is 0x, 1y, right? That means he should be going forward if we look at it, right? This block goes forward, right? That means what you want to do is you want to go walk forward, put this animation here. Then 1, 0 means 1x, 0y. That refers to this point, right? When we go from idle to 1, 0, we're moving right, right? So then because we're going right, we put the right animation there. And then when we go from 0 to 1, negative 1 to 0, you see that from here, -1, 0 means going here. And that means going left. So we take left and we put that there. And then finally, we put this, not that. This is 0, -1. So that means we're walking backwards. And we put this here. Okay, and now we have our entire blend tree. I like using blend trees for one reason, and that is this. Let's first jag a model for preview so we can see exactly what is occurring. Before we actually put a model in, we need to actually rig it. A rig will allow us to animate this model. So when you go back to Bob, what you should do is click rig, click generic, and click on create from this model. Okay, and you click apply. Now we have a Bob avatar, and that's what we can actually apply an animator to. So now if I go back to our blend tree, we can actually put this into here. And now if I right click on this so you can see this better. So this is either state, right? Then when I walk forward, I need to click play it. Okay, that's fine. So this is his either state, right? So you can see it's kind of either. Then I start moving a bit. He starts walking slowly, right? Then he starts walking quick, and he's walking forward, right? Now, if I want to go right, he starts walking right, right? And then he walks backwards, then he walks left. Do you guys see it? Are you guys able to make this? Any comments? We're animating Bob now so he can walk by himself. Yep, that's fine. So which part of it would you like me to go over specifically? Like the motion part, making this, or specifically the blend tree? Yeah. So basically what we're trying to do here is we're trying to create an animator that simply is able to take a few parameters, in this case, change X, and change Y, and able to make Bob animate in some way, shape, or form, right? So the inputs are X and Y. And the reason I'm using a blend tree is because it won't be necessarily that important for what we're doing today, but for maybe your project, you might have an idea about see how the animations blend together. That's the biggest thing about blend tree. So like, even though say I'm only walking at a certain speed, then my animation will change accordingly. If I'm walking faster, my animation should get faster, right? And that's what the blend tree does, right? And by making it in the 4 cardinal direction, you can even make 8 or other ones. Like this allows me to get all my motion how I want it. That's the main idea. Now, so what we did here is we first created a blend tree. We set it to a 2D freeform Cartesian so we can see it like this. And then what we did is we took each position accordingly. 0, 0, we're looking at it in terms of our change X, change Y, which is our speed, right? So change X, change Y. If I'm not changing my X and I'm not changing in my Y, that means I'm not moving, right? If I'm not moving, I want to use my either animation. Going back to animations, these are the animations. I know like it's kind of confusing because they all have the same name, but these are my animations. And what happens is since this is 0, 0, right? I take my idle animation and I put it here. 0, 1, right? So that goes to this position here. Going from idle to 0, 1 means I'm going forward, right? So what that means is I want to make my 0, 1. Oh, I lost it. I want to make my 0, 1. Yeah, see, I want to make my 0, 1 my walking forward animation. Because what happens is when my when I send in the input 1, 0, 1, that means I'm not changing in the X axis, I'm changing in the Y axis. And what that means, I should move forward, right? And then again, 1, 0. So this is again looking at this point, right? And then looking at this point, I want to move from idle to this point. That means I want to move right, right? And that means that I put the animation right there. Does that kind of make sense? And the way I get these animations, I just open up the specific animation I'm looking at. There are named accordingly. And I just take this animation and I put it, say I want to go this one again. And now it's still there, right? Any other issues? So we like any questions? Or like any issues of specific part? Or stuck at anything? Thumbs up if you were able to make this animation tree. Okay. Cool. So what I'm going to do then is we're going to go through it from the beginning one more time. Okay, so was everyone able to get to this step? I'm just going to delete this actually. Making just the anime. All I did here is I made the Bob controller and I double clicked and I got onto this pane. Was everyone able to get onto this? Like, was everyone able to get onto this? Like, just the thing. Like, just okay, cool. Okay, so you guys are on this animator pane, right? Oh, nice. Was that? Well, I could have easily. Okay, I just did it again. It's okay. What we're going to do is we right click, right? Right click, create state, create from new blend tree. We got this blend tree here, right? Does everyone have a blend tree now? Okay, cool. Now what we're going to do is we're going to double click on this blend tree and you get to open up your blend tree. So basically we're moving from our base layer into our blend tree layer. So if you double click on the blend tree, you get into this, right? Again, you guys should have these parameters, right? You guys all have these parameters. Just click add. I added 2 floats, called them change X, change Y. And I added 1 Boolean. So Boolean true or false. And I added punching. So does everyone have these parameters? Because these parameters are pretty important. So what you do is you click add. So you should be in not layers, but parameters. Parameters, okay? Make sure you click parameters. You click add. You click float. And then you should be able to make like a float called change X for one. And then I'm just going to delete this because I don't need it. And then for another one, you have change Y. And then last one, you make a Boolean and you call it punching. Okay. Then what happens is, because we're going to use these 2 variables for our blend tree, we're going to click this and we're going to click 2D freeform Cartesian. Then from here, using our 2D freeform Cartesian, we're going to have parameters 1 change X, 1 change Y. Okay, so this is change X and change Y. Okay, and now with this blend tree, what we're going to do is just to add motion fields. I'm not going to tell you to do anything with the motion fields yet. Just add them. We're going to need 5, okay? 5 motion fields. Okay, thumbs up if you're good with everything up to now. Okay, so I saw one thumbs up. That means some people got stuck, right? Can someone tell me where they got stuck at? Can some brave man tell me where they got stuck at? Okay, that's okay, but you don't have to send a thumbs up. Okay, can you guys just type yes in chat if you guys got it? I got up to the step I'm on right now. All I did was I made a blend tree, 2D. Okay. Is anyone stuck anywhere? They can feel free just to stop us, because like then if we can't get this, then like it'd be harder to get later. And like this is all about learning, guys. Okay, if we're good, I'm gonna go on from here. So we have our 5 motions now, right? I'm gonna go 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0. Doesn't matter what order you're doing it actually. -1, 0, and 0, -1. So you guys should have like a star, right? With the red dot somewhere. And that's good, right? Now from here, what we're going to do is we have 0, 0 here, right? That means that idle, when we have 0 change in X, 0 change in Y, that means we want our idle animation to be running. So we're going to drag the idle animation to 0, 0. Okay. Then what we're going to do is 0, 1 corresponds to, if I were to click on this, if I click on this, okay, that one doesn't work. Anyway, 0, 1 corresponds to 0 in the X, 1 in the Y, right? And what that means, we want to be moving backwards here. So walk backwards, we take this animation, we see that this goes here, and we drag the walk backwards animation in here. Yeah. And then what we see is that walking forwards is 1, 0, right? Because we're walking forward in, 0, 1. Oh, yeah, that's it. Sorry. Walking forwards is 0, 1. Because it's 0 in the X, 1 in the Y, right? That means if you're walking, if I click play, right? You'll see that this is idle, and if I want to walk forward, it should be 0, 1. Also, I'm pretty sure one of you had the problem where like Bob wasn't showing up here. It would say like no model, right? So that's what you guys have to do is you have to go back to your model here. You go to Bob and you drag him in. And it won't work if Bob doesn't have a Bob avatar. You need a Bob avatar. And remember, to create a Bob avatar, you go to rig and you just make this to create from avatar and you click apply. Is everyone good up to the step where they can see Bob walking? Forward, just forward. Yep. So for the part about Bob avatar, you go to Bob, you click rig. So if you click on Bob in your model, you should see it in the inspector, right? And then you click on rig, you click create from this model, and you should be able to click apply. When that happens, you should see that Bob has a new Bob avatar here. And then all you do is you take this and you should be able to drag this in here. Just take your Bob and drag it in here. In the play thing. And now you should be able to click play. And if you move the red dot between idle and walking, you should be able to see it. Okay, so we're good about that, right? And that means that we can, now we'll start with the other animations. So 1, 0 means we're going right, right? So what that means is we go to animations, we go 1, 0 corresponds to right in our Cartesian plane. -1, 0 corresponds to left. And 0, -1 corresponds to down, which is the same as walking backwards. Now, if I were to take this again and click play, you should see that when I'm right, he's walking right. Like when I'm like standing still, he's still walking forward, walking backwards. Oh, see, I already found a mistake. This is walking forward, but I don't think this is walking backwards. That means my -1, 0, my 0, -1 was incorrect. That means it should be this. See, now you can clearly see he's walking backwards. So this is walking backwards. This should be walking forwards, walking left, and walking right. Right. Are we good with that now? Okay, cool. Now that we have this part done, what we're going to do now is we're going to try making Bob punch. Okay, because we also have a punch animation, you know. Bob's a fighter here. So what we're going to do is we have our blend tree, right? And this blend tree basically does our motion. You can rename the blend tree, but it doesn't really matter. We're going to create a new state, and we're going to create an empty state. And this state, we're going to call punch. And this state is going to be our punching state. So what that means is it needs to hold our punch animation. Okay. And now what's going to happen is we are going to go back to making our transitions. So when you right click on the blend tree, you should see something called make transition. We're going to click make transition and drag it and then click on punch. Okay. Then we're going to right click on punch. We're going to click make transition and then you're going to drag towards blend tree and click on blend tree. So now you should have two arrows that look like this. Now what this tells us is that you can we're going to click off the has exit time. What has exit time means is that say this transition is activated, then what it does is it doesn't wait for the animation in blend tree to finish. It'll automatically start going to punch. However, for this one, we're going to have an exit time because we want the character to finish punching before it goes back to blend tree. And this makes sense, right? If you're walking, you click punch, you're going to punch right away. You're not going to continue walking and then punch, right? You're going to stop, punch, and then go, whatever, right? And then the reason why we wait for the punch to finish is we want to wait for the motion back, right? So now what happens is you click on this. We need to add a condition still. At least one condition. See, transition needs at least one condition or an exit time to be valid. Otherwise, it would be ignored. So we need to add a condition now because we don't have an exit time. So what this means is that because we have a transition, we're just going to make our transition our punching. So we right click on this, you click punching, and you just make that true. So what this means is that if it's punching, it's going to punch, right? So now, just to make sure that you guys get this part, what we're going to do is, wait, let me just make sure. I'm going to chat keeps disappearing. Can someone send something in chat? What? Okay. I don't know. Chat's weird. I don't know why chat keeps disappearing. I got it though. Something nice. Okay. So what's going to happen now is we're going to try adding this to our controller to Bob. So what we're going to do is you go onto Bob and you should have our animator. So we need to add an animator to Bob. I'm going to go back to scene. Remember, you should be on Bob here. So Bob, we added an animator to him, right? And his controller now, we already made his controller here. So his controller is, where did I make it? Oh, here. Okay. So we should have Bob, and we have his Bob controller, right? And his avatar, now we have our avatar as, we just click on here and you should have Bob avatar. Right? And now you should see he's in idle state, right? And I'm just going to drag this here and I'm going to show you. When I click punching, he punches, right? When I unclick this, he stops punching, right? And then what happens is if I were to do 1, he starts walking forward, right? If I were to do -1, he starts walking backwards, right? Okay, so I found an issue here too. If it stops after going once, what that means is that I did not go walk backwards. If I go to animation, I need a loop time. Right. I think that's fine. Anyways, if I go 0 and I go 1, we should be moving right. And then when I go -1, should be moving left. And then if I do 1, should walk forward. Okay, there's just one problem, which is the blend tree is not repeating. So what that means is I need to make sure my blend tree repeats. So if I go here and I were to change this to -1, one sec. So if I were to go into the blend tree, oh, see, this doesn't have loop time, and these do not have loop time either. Yeah, so these are not good. See, if I were to click on these, you can see which ones have loop time and which one doesn't. So this one has loop time. And this one also has loop time, which is the walking forward one. But this one doesn't. That means if I were to go here to right, his loop time does not work. So I need to go here and click apply. So now he will keep looping. So now if I were to click play on this, see, he continues walking forward. Now I need to click play on this, and I need this to also work. But if I see this doesn't have loop time, this does not. So I need to go here, I need to go here, and I need to go here, and I need to click apply. You need to make sure all your animations have loop time. I'm going to go back and do this in the editor. So what happens is all of these, if you click on them, right, you should see loop time checked off. If it isn't checked off, that means for the one you haven't clicked loop time here. You guys see what I did now? So now if I go back here, these are checked off in loop time, right? You guys see that? No. So the reason I did for -1 and 1, the animations were not blend. The reason we're not doing the blending now, I just showed that to you for the purpose of this, was because in real life you'll have when you do your project, you might have speed or something, right? And as your speed increases, you can change the change X, change Y. It's more to make a difference in speed. for us right now, we'll be using one speed only, so it will not affect us that much. But when you do better applications, it's nice to always have a blend tree. Okay. And now if I click play again, you guys will see that go back to the scene. Oh, I didn't even do this. Okay, Bob. I need to add animator here. Oh, not animation. Okay, add animator. Okay. And then here, runtime animator, you have your Bob controller, and your avatar should be your Bob avatar. Okay. And now when you click run, you see he's moving backwards, right? And he's continuously moving backwards. If I click 0, he's in the idle state. If I'm doing 1, he's continuously moving right. If I do -1, continuously moving left. And then same thing with here, right? And if I click punch, he's punching, right? Okay, so now all we have to do is we have to make our code now access this and make Bob like actually, you know, our movement script. We're going to start using that next. So let's go back there and make our movement script work. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to have our we're going to have to make some changes to our movement script. So I'm going to call this script. I'm going to create border part B. I'm going to go into part B and we're going to create a C# script. I'm going to call that character controller. And then I'm going to open that script. Oh, wait. Before I go that into it, anyone have any problems with getting up to the step we're at right now? So like where they can click play and they have animations. So like if I click play, the animation thing plays for a second. So that shouldn't happen. Do you have all of these? Does all of these have loop time for you? If they don't have loop time for you, then that might be a case. If you go into your blend tree while it's running, and you click on all of these, they should all have loop time checked off. Okay, they do. And then if you click play here in just the blend tree, does it go into T-pose in the blend tree? Are you okay? I feel like it's a bigger problem we'll have to debug. If you'd like, after the project, after it's done, like I can like just DM me after and I can go over with you again. It's probably like a specific problem somewhere. Yeah. You try debugging it. If anything, we'll try after. Okay. So now going back to the movement, we have our character controller, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to take what we have in movement. I'm going to copy and paste it because we're basically going to just make a few changes to our movement script from part 1 for this one. Yeah. So I'm just going to do is I'm just going to take this part, Control C, Control V. Okay. Because I'm just going to change this so that we can use this for this part too. So the first thing we're going to need access to is we're going to need access to our animator. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to do animator, And I'm just going to call it Animator. Actually, I'm going to call it Anime. And because of that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make anime equal to get component. So basically this is going to be attached to our, oh wait, camera control. I made a big mistake. I meant to make this into the character controller. Yeah, guys, don't change your camera controller, okay? We're going to need this. Okay. Now that we have put this into the right one, the character controller, what we're going to do is we're going to add a reference to our animator. So we need our animator. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get a reference to our animator. So the reason this works is this script is going to be attached to Bob, on Bob, okay? And because it's attached to Bob, it can get the components on its own object simply at the start by doing get component animator. And this works with other components too. You can put rigid body in here too, and you can get that specific component. Okay. Next, what we're going to do is we are going to check if the space key is pressed down, okay? But the thing about the space key is we're going to use get key down. The difference between get key down and get key is this will activate true. If you highlight it, see, returns true during the frame when the user starts pressing down. So it'll only be true once, and that's when he starts pushing down the button, right? But it won't be true after. So that's why we use get key down instead of get key, because we only want to know if it's clicked down once, not if he's like just spamming it. We don't want to keep spamming punches, right? And then what we're going to do is key code dot space, because we're going to be using space for our punches. And from there, we're going to do animate dot set bool punching true. What this will do is it'll take the parameter. So because the parameter, because we have this parameter in our game, where's my animator? Yeah, because we have punching here. What it does is it takes our animator, it sets the parameter of punching to be true. Okay. And then what happens is after this, we're going to do else anime dot set bool punching farce. So if we didn't click it, the frame after we want to set it to farce. And the reason is, I don't know if you guys noticed, but because of the way we used exit time, if I click punch once, see, no matter what I do, if I just click it once, even if I click off before he stops punching, it'll still do the entire punch. And that's because of the way we used exit time. So from here, what we have is we set it to be farce here, and then simply the rest of our things come in here. There's going to be one problem, I believe, with this, and that is we have to decide what change X and change Y is. So first, what we need to know is that when we did our tree here, right, change Y meant going forward, right? And what we saw is that when we click W, right, that's when we go forward. So W corresponds to change Z. And because 1 is going forward, that means that we can just, and -1 is going backwards for W. That means that we can just set, this time we're using float. our ID here is change Y, and we're going to set it to be change Z. And the reason is, again, our change Y corresponds to going forward in our tree, right? This goes forward. Our Y is going forward. When Y is 1, that means that our W should be, like we should be clicking W and Y is 1 because W is going forward, right? And here we see that W is corresponds to change Z. So we set change Y to be change Z. Now for animate, now we want to do the other one. Set float, change Z. Now the big difference here is change Z, change X. Oh. So if you look back, change X should be going right, right? So that means that right is 1, it's 1, 0, right? But you see that right also corresponds to D. Okay, so that means that we did that correctly. That means that all you have to do here is make this change X. And now this should work. So now if we were to put our character controller on the scene, okay, let's first take Bob and we'll first attach our character controller to it. Okay, and we're going to make the speed the same thing we did before. It's going to do something like that. And now if you click play, I just want to make sure this works. So if what we're going to do is we're going to put this here. Put this here. Okay, so now if I go forward, you see I'm moving backwards, moves back, going forwards, moves forward. When I click D, I go right, and when I click A, I go left. So this is correct, right? Okay, let's first see if there's any problems there. Wait, sorry. What do you mean by did you loop it? I didn't see the message beforehand. Sorry. Oh, okay. Does anyone have any problems getting to this step? One thing that you need to remember is that I'm looking at it in the scene, right? This is in the scene. In order to like make sure that like if I were to click out of the scene, you see that nothing is being played, right? In order to actually make sure that like your keys are working, you need to make sure that you're clicked in the game window. When you're clicked in the game window, then your keys will start working because you're actually in the game. If you're not in the game, Unity will not sense your keys. You should also be able to see that I can also rotate the character by moving my mouse horizontally. Okay, now all that's left to make our character actually like look good is to make our camera. Remember how we made our camera position before? We need to do something very similar, and it's almost literally the exact same code. All you need to do is, all you need to do is go into Bob and we need to put our camera position in. So what we're going to do is we're going to have the camera be in here still. But what we're going to do is we're going to put a positioning. I'm going to call this cam pause. And we're going to put this in Bob too. But this allows us to specifically this allows us to like make this proper. So what I'm saying about that is we can adjust where this camera position is. Let's go back to Bob. So we see that Bob's here, right? And what we're going to do is we're going to put our camera position at 0, 0, 0 first. So that's here, right? Just gonna like drag that up a bit and put that here, right? And maybe like over his shoulder. No, it's however you guys. You can even make it first person if you want. And now all we have to do is in our main camera, we need to put our camera controller back, right? And it's literally the exact same script. So we go to our part A script, we put it in, and then we just put the same speed, 1, -50, 20, and then here, I'm just going to put cam pause here. And then if I click Control S and I click play, let's see how this works. So now if I go into my game, right? Actually, it's a bit. I think this camera position is bad. So what we need to do is we need to edit our camera positioning a bit. So I'm just going to let's make this 0.01, 1.9, something like this. Okay, so now you see him, right? And now it's like kind of like a third person. I can walk forward. All right. I can walk right. I can walk left, and I can walk backwards. Is everyone good with that? So now we got a man that's walking. And now the last thing is you can see he can even punch, right? I might move the camera position a bit more to the right. Yeah, basically he just punches. Right? You can work out the thing, like the camera position. All you have to do is change the camera position wherever you want. The last thing that I wanted to do was make the colliders actually work. So the thing we're going to do is we're going to try making a few walls. And what we're going to do is we're going to create 3D object cube. We'll call it like 10x, 20x. How big did I make the ground? Oh, okay, okay. So we should have made the plane. Let's make this 1, 1. And I should make them all like. Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to move the starting position of Bob. We're going to move him a bit back. And we're just going to have like simple walls here. I'm just going to do 5. I'm going to call it wall 2.5. And all we're just going to do is we're going to just call this wall. We're just going to do something like this. Okay. And we're going to have a rigid body on this. And this, we're going to not use gravity. We're going to say it's kinematic, so it doesn't move, right? But what we're going to do now is we aren't even actually going to make this a rigid body. I don't think we need that. We're going to actually try making him destroy the wall with his fist, you know, making him a strong, strong man. And the way we're going to do that is we see how we're going to go into Bob and we're going to use his right arm, if I can find it. Yeah. So you see, basically on this right hand, he has a hand here, right? And this is a joint. And what's very important about this is that I can add a sphere collider on his hand. And I'll make this a bit smaller. And then I can also change the position of it. So I think so now basically I put a ball on his hand, right? And what we're going to be using this, we're going to use his right hand as a collider with the wall. So what's going to happen now is on his right hand, we're going to create one last script back in part B, create C# script. We're going to call this wall destroyer. I think I screwed up. Yeah, I didn't mean to put a. You shouldn't put a symbol in the name. Just create C# script. I'm just gonna call it actually wall destroyer, whatever. Okay, whatever. Okay, now I got wall destroyer. Okay, and in this script, what we're going to do is we are going to just. It's very simple. All we have to do, it's like 4 lines, I think. We're going to be using the on trigger effect on a collider. What that means is we'll first get private void on trigger event. And we're going to use the exit event. It doesn't matter, but we're going to use the exit event. And what we're going to do give me 1 sec. All that's going to happen here is we're going to take this script we're going to attach to this to his hand. Okay. And what's going to happen is when his hand collides with the wall, we're going to have a trigger event. That's why I check off is trigger. Okay. And what happens here is when there's a trigger event, when the trigger leaves the wall, it's going to cause the wall to be destroyed. And the biggest thing here is that we can actually tag each of these walls. We can click add tag, and we're going to add tag, and we're going to make this card a wall. So now by tagging each wall with a wall tag, what happens is we'll be able to take his right hand and we'll be able to make it only destroy walls. And this is very important. Being able to tell apart what objects should be destroyed from the hand instead of just destroying every object your hand collides with is very important in a game. Thinking about if your guy is running into a person and he's destroying like the ground while he's at it, you know? Like there are certain things your game should allow to destroy and certain things your game should not allow to destroy. And that's the entire point of it. So what this is going to do, we're going to do other dot game object. And I think that should be okay. And then all we're going to have to do is add the wall destroyer onto this hand. And now if we click play, so I don't know if you saw that. I should move the camera back. Um, okay. So now I walk up to the wall, I click space, right? The wall got destroyed, right? There's only 2 walls left. But one problem with what we have right now is that if I just walk into the wall, I can destroy it, right? I should only be able to destroy it on my punch, right? So that means that we need to check if what animation is running. And in order to do that, finally, all we need to do is get another reference to our animator. And all we have to do is check if our animator's current state Okay, the reason I put 0 is because everything we've done so far is on one layer. It's on the base layer. So all we have to do is check the base layer. If we had multiple layers, then we have to check a different index depending on the layer index. But really, that doesn't matter unless you're getting into bigger projects. Okay, so now if I were to try doing the same thing again, you will see that if I Control S, I go back here, I go into the hand. I right click on this, you get Bob and just put Bob in there. And now if I walk forward, you see that like I can't go through the wall. And also like my hand is not causing it to destroy, right? But then when I click space, you see that it destroyed, right? Only when I click space now will the wall be destroyed. And here we are. We have completed the wall destroyer app. Great job. Stuff to put on your resume. Any questions at all? I think I went through that last part a bit fast. I can go over it again. Yeah, that's it. But does anyone have any questions? Just one thing. Can I get like people to put their hands up if they're able to actually get the water destroyer at the end? Or just say yes if you're able to get the water destroyer working. Okay, cool. Anyone else? Any troubles? Guys, feel free to ask. Nice. Yeah. Feel free to rewatch the YouTube stream if you guys don't get if like I missed anything. I believe so. You'd have to ask the more organized about that. But I believe they should still be up. Nice. Yep, Unity is a great platform. Trust. A lot of your projects for hackathons or experiences you have, Unity is useful. And yeah, so today I taught like how you guys should like be able to do collisions now and animations. So keep in mind anything you guys want and to do for your project. Also, again, just one last thing for resources. again, make sure you use Unity docs. Unity docs is very helpful. Documentation. And another thing is Unity Asset Store. I didn't really talk about it, but Unity Asset Store is great for getting free assets. Say you wanted like environmental. You can get like easy like maps and stuff. Rocks, you know, like a lot of bunch for just for free. This is a bad one because it's $65, but there are free assets, right? And what I'm saying is like, say you even wanted like a car. You should just click free. See, and now you got like all these race car options. And they're free assets. Yeah. And these are very useful. And then the last thing is the thing I used for this one was Mixamo. So from Mixamo, you can get a bunch of animations and characters too. And it's really easy because all their characters are rigged. If you want to do a humanoid character, it's really hard to find your own rigged character. But like say I wanted this character, I'll log in quickly and show you. So this is the one I did for you guys last time. Yeah, you can put your own in, but like sometimes like the Mixamo auto rig doesn't work really well. I used it before too. Like their own rig, they're best if you can get a character from here. So like say I wanted to use like I don't know, use this character, like Douglas. Then I can go to animations. And I could choose like any of these animations will work with him, right? One thing to do though is for movement animations, I like to keep them in place. So I don't know if they have one. So see when I do walking, I like to keep all my animations in place and then you can move them in Unity. Also for your download, you should always choose the FBX for Unity if you're using Unity. And then again for the character too, if you want to download a character, you can just click on it, use this character, and then download. Oh no. So you just take out the animation and say you just want to download the character. You can download the character in T-pose like how I did. And then you just do Unity for FBX. You're good. Yeah, so Mixamo is a great thing for getting free characters and animations. And then this is for cool assets. And then you need documentation if you need any help to do a specific task. And those are all the resources. Any questions? If there is nothing, I'm going to end it there.